Ladies and gentlemen, hello. Welcome to the Watercooler. We're back. Back and better than ever. Mike, can you hear me? Are you there? How are you doing?
I can hear you. Good.
Oh, buddy. He can hear us. Keep talking. Let me try and get these levels right here.
How's it going?
Ooh, that sounds pretty good. I think I might need to come down a little bit. So, Mike, hey.
Yes.
Did you know that the Vikings fired their offensive coordinator today?
I did hear that.
You had heard that. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. What do you make of the move? Do you think it was the right move? Do you think... Well, let's just start there. Do you think it was the right move?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not?
Nope.
Elaborate. Why? What about... What were... Yeah, okay. You explain it, and then I'll try and poke holes in your stupid argument because you're wrong.
You knew what you were getting when you signed him. I mean, I don't understand what the mystery is. He's a run-first guy. Or,
Pass
excuse
first
me,
guy. Yeah,
pass-first guy.
I'm with you.
If he was a run-first guy, he'd still have a job.
Yes, exactly.
But, I mean, it's. I crunched some numbers. We're running 7 times less a game for a grand total of 28 yards less a game.
7 times less than last year?
Correct.
Over the same. So, on average, it's 7 carries less per game?
Yep, we're running about 17 times a game, and last year it was about 24.
Really?
I mean, I don't get it. Yeah.
Do you, this is interesting because as I've been listening to people kind of, not flip out, but as I listen to people either justify this move or go against this move, it always seems like the easiest argument to make, and that the easiest argument that people consistently make, is that it's like a girlfriend, it's like, yeah, you were running the ball, but that's not the way I wanted you to run the ball, It's like clean the house, and I cleaned the house, but I didn't clean the house the way she wanted me to clean the house, Does that make sense to you?
I suppose.
I use that on the other one, but it's, it's like, because like, as you say, he's running the ball 7 times less, which isn't a lot, right?
No.
But it's an easy argument to make that, he just wasn't running the ball right. Do you think there's any validity to that? Do you think that this, obviously the offense for the Vikings has been stagnant. I don't think there's any doubt about that at this point.
Last 2 games.
Yeah. And I guess you could, statistically speaking, this is why it's such a conundrum. Is statistically, if you look at what Kirk Cousins has done over the last few games, it's not that bad.
Nope.
But if you watch the games game by game, he doesn't look very good.
He looks uncomfortable.
He does look uncomfortable. That's a great
He looks scared to make a mistake, and that's the worst thing you can have in your starting quarterback.
And you think this is happening because Mike Zimmer is meddling in the offense? Is that kind of the way? Is that the angle? You think that's it?
Yes. It's like me trying to perform brain surgery.
Just leave it to the professionals.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I understand what you're saying, though. I get the argument. Do you think that where do you think this offense would be if Zimmer never would have said anything in the media, never would have brought it up? Do you think they would still be winning games? Like, do you think that this offense was lacking or do you think that the reason it was lacking wasn't because of DiFilippo? Like, where do you stand on the offense as a whole, I guess, is like my question.
We're 6-4-1. We're moving the ball pretty good. And then all of a sudden, Zimmer wants to run the ball more. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's a good argument to make, honestly, for here is like, if it wasn't broke, why fix it, right? Was it really that bad? Like, had the running game become so stagnant at that point with a 6-4-1 record? Like, was it that bad? Obviously Zimmer thought it was. It wasn't great there's few people who would look at those games and be like, man, that offense is humming. Like, I mean, I think we can establish that. Like, it's not great, obviously, but is it fire your offensive coordinator 3 games before the end of the season when you're in the playoffs right now, babe?
Maybe if it was his 3rd year, but it's his 1st year.
Yeah.
New quarterback, new system, new offensive coordinator, and a freaking nosy head coach.
And an offensive line coach who passes away beforehand, which makes it difficult. Injuries on the offensive line, which make it difficult. I think it's, you bring up some good points as far as, is it DiFilippo's fault that they're not good at running the ball? I mean, that I think is an argument that, and I'm sure there are people who would say, yeah, because that's his job as offensive coordinator. And I don't disagree with that. That might be the side that I fall on. But I think you could make some very good points that no matter how good your offensive coordinator is, what are they going to be able to do with this offensive line? Does that make sense? Like, do you think that's a valid argument? Do you think the offensive line is that bad?
It's horrible.
I mean,
horrible.
I feel like I do wind up falling on at the end of the day, it's still your job, because there are a lot of bad offensive lines on a lot of teams that seem to be able to alleviate that. And I'm thinking that that's probably what Mike Zimmer was frustrated by, but was unable to, verbalize it. I think it comes out as we need to run the ball more. But I think what he wanted was better play from the offensive line.
Think mandating your offensive coordinator to run at least 20 times a game is the way to go? He looked indecisive just as much as Cousins did.
Yeah, honest to God, the only people who knew what was happening or what the Vikings were going to do was the Seattle defense. There's nobody on Minnesota's side had any idea what play was coming next, but Seattle seemed to figure it out pretty easily every time. Let's review that a little bit. So the Vikings, of course, lose to Seattle in Seattle on Monday night, 21-7. But it was much closer for the majority of the game. It was like a 6-0 game for a 1-possession game for the majority of it.
Until the worst call of the year. Non-call, I should say.
Non-call from the worst.
Yep.
I see what you say. Like official call. Yeah, let's talk about that. It was a bad call. Has the NFL already admitted that it was garbage? Have they done that?
Not that I've seen, but they will.
Yeah, they will for sure, because it obviously is a penalty. Do you think? Well, first of all, let's take a big picture. Do you think the refs were horrible? Like, they're not the easiest argument is, they got jobbed by the officials. And I don't think.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Yeah. I don't think
saying that was a bad call at a big time.
A huge call in the game. I think that is totally fair to say. I completely agree with that. Do they even score? Even if that penalty's called
I don't know.
15 yards, I don't know. I have a tough time believing that they even wind up scoring a touchdown there. But it definitely changes. It completely changed the complexion of the game after that.
Yeah. Yep.
What are some, I guess, let's do some pros and cons on the offensive coordinator move. Like, what good can happen from getting rid of your offensive coordinator at this point in the season? Do you even have a pro for this argument?
Yeah, I mean, you might get a spark out of the team.
Okay.
There's no tape on Stefanski, so they have no idea what he's going to do, when he's going to do it.
That's totally it. That's a great point. There is no book on him
but
yet.
But when they'll get a book. They'll get a book week 1 of the playoffs, and then it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's done.
3 games. Yep.
And that, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, is maybe the part of it that keeps me the most hopeful, is that because there's so much unknown, I now think that unknown also applies to the defenses that they're going to be playing.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think that there's any, is there a real chance that they're going to, be installing some snappy new offense, and Stefanski's going to start running these Sean McVay play? I mean, how much change really can we expect here, do you think?
Not much.
Yeah.
More of he might be a better play caller, but who knows? He's never been an offensive coordinator either.
Exactly right. We don't know. And which I'm sure was why when this was all going on in the offseason, why DiFilippo got the job ahead of Stefanski in the first place was because DiFilippo had that experience and was coming from a team who had won a Super Bowl and blah, 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 blah.
I don't believe Filippo's has he been an OC before?
He was an offensive coordinator in Cleveland with Johnny Manziel as his quarterback, and Pat Shurmur was the head coach. And they
Really?
and it was the one stretch of they got hired that offseason and were fired. The whole staff, if I'm not mistaken, was fired before before that season was like over. So he basically
Was Shurmur calling the plays in Cleveland though?
I don't know the answer to that. I want to say Shurmur was calling the plays, but I don't know that. But yeah, so either way, you wind up looking at this guy's resume, DiFilippo this is, and yeah, you got a quarterbacks coach who was on a Super Bowl winning team as a staff, but then you look at the rest of them, and he's bad offensive coordinator and a bad offense and a bad team in Cleveland. With a quarterback who didn't play well. Granted, it was Johnny Football. Granted, it was Cleveland. And now you have Kirk Cousins and all these weapons, and he gets fired halfway through the season. What would you give DiFilippo as a grade for this? I mean, this season. Not that I don't want to give him an F, right? Because I don't think it's all his fault. But
no,
I also don't think he was as bad as people are making out to be either.
We're averaging exactly the same amount of points as last year, 24.
You're kidding me. The offense is averaging the same amount of points as they were a season ago.
That stopped as soon as Zimmer started meddling. 24 points, first 11 games.
You're kidding.
The defense now is giving up 8 more points a game.
Yeah. And that would make sense. You could attribute some of that to injury. You could attribute some of that to whatever, because they did have an epic, historically efficient defense last season, and nobody was hurt. But that's crazy. So you're telling me, Mike, that this offense that was so stagnant and so frustrating and so garbage to watch has been averaging the same amount of points as they did last year. That is
through week 11, correct?
That's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
But I suppose they were atop the division last year because of the injuries and stuff. I just am trying to wrap my brain around why perception of this team can be so different this season as opposed to last year. Granted, the records are different, but if you watch football or have watched football for any length of time, and you see that team with Case Keenum and what they had last year, and now you look at this team with Kirk Cousins, and what is the biggest difference? And to me, it's honestly,
we were winning.
Yeah, expectations.
That's it.
And
that's it.
Yeah,
we were 13-3 last year. If we were 6-1 last year, people would be talking.
100%. And and offensive. Well, probably not. Shurmur wouldn't have been getting fired. But you get my point. Is heads would have rolled if they would have been 6-1 at this point last year. It wouldn't.
Well, maybe not because
they wouldn't have expected.
It was the case. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm saying is I feel like, and I've said this a couple of times now, but the worst thing that happened to this year's team was the success of last season. Because there's just no way that this new group of guys, and it is every year, look at Philly, it's a new group, it's a new team, a new offensive coordinator, a new quarterback, a new offensive line coach, all these moving parts. And we just expected that they were going to go 13-3 and go to the NFC Championship game / Super Bowl. That's bonkers when you look at it like that from our perspective now. But I'll tell you what, Mike, earlier this season, before the season started, I thought all of those things. I wanted all of those things. Were you as blinded by the success of last season as most of us were? Or we were all pumped, right?
I had some expectations, but I am a Vikings fan, so you got to temper that. Well, you just look at the schedule. You could see it was going to be a tough schedule.
Yep.
And to play all those tough games on the road is just remarkable. The scheduling, it's just remarkable.
And when you look at, I remember looking at the beginning of the season and seeing this stretch of games where it was at New England, at Seattle, and I remember thinking to myself, man, I hope they're in good shape because that stretch is going to be nearly impossible for them to do anything successfully, And here we are, and that was true, but the situation has changed, obviously, drastically. Do you think that this, I know that it could provide a pep. is there any chance of like a 2012 Ravens situation? Because they fired their coordinator same time and then got a new Caldwell came in. They wind up winning the Super Bowl. Any chance that happens with the Vikings this year? You don't want to say none.
No, no, no. No, offensive line
0.003.
is too bad. It's just too bad.
100%. That's exactly where I'm at. Maybe if you had a better offensive line, you could make that work. But
why Stefanski, by the way? Why not Todd Downing?
You know, I thought this was an interesting conversation to have. Stefanski, I feel like, gets the nod because he was blocked from taking the offensive coordinator job in New York with Shermer. Because that was the move this offseason was they wanted John DeFilippo, but they didn't want to lose Stefanski to Shermer. Mm-hmm. So they blocked him. So I feel like this is whether they want to or not, they're stuck giving this job to Stefanski. And I don't think that they're like, oh, crap, we got to give it to this guy. You know, I'm sure they're like fine with it and have the utmost of confidence in his ability to call a game and be an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, but why? He's never done it. Todd Downing has done it.
It's true.
With Oakland.
It's true. I feel like that's the reason. I feel like the reason is because they want to give it to him because if he's an option, they want him next year, right? Wouldn't that be the idea is you give him 3 games plus the playoffs and then see if you want to make him your guy next season?
Yeah, but it's not a real look. It's not his offense.
I mean, I don't disagree with you there. Do you think – well, I suppose if Todd Downing, if you take him, make him the offensive coordinator and then just roll, you could have him next year. He's probably still under contract as
I would assume he's like
a tight ends coach or something
offensive
like that.
Consultant or something.
Yeah, whatever. I love when they do this is they just bring coaches in. This was what was Pat Shurmur was the same thing where he was like an offensive consultant analyst like / tight ends coach and then when the bleep hits the fan, I marked this explicit. When the shit hits the fan, then he will step in and be the offensive coordinator. That worked out pretty well for them.
Does it concern you at all that this is the second time in 5 years I had offensive coordinators either quit or got fired in the middle of the season?
Yes, but I also think that that's an easy – yes, it does just because those numbers are interesting, and the 4 offensive coordinators in 5 seasons is not a good statistic to have. But if you look at them individually, I think Norv needed to go and Shurmur was there and knew what needed to happen. And then if you look at what Norv has done since he's come back, he kind of like had to reinvent himself. He's doing all that goofy stuff in Carolina for a few weeks. They were running very strange formations and motions and things that he never did, like the big knock on him kind of left.
Yep.
So I feel like maybe that was good for all parties involved when that happened because it forced him to take a look at what he was doing and maybe evolve a little bit. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, it is concerning to have your head coach be flying through offensive coordinators every
I think
season.
Zimmer is looking for a game manager at quarterback. I mean, and that's not Kirk Cousins.
It's not, but excuse me, it's not, but I feel like he could be the best game manager. If you could get Kirk Cousins a system that he could just settle into, much like Keenum, like they did with Keenum last year, where if you could do that same thing with Cousins, but then have all of the, have the arm that Cousins has and the whatever, I feel like that's the end goal.
Why not keep Keenum then and put the extra money into the offensive line?
Well, because I think that
if that's all you want your quarterback to do is throw 200 yards a game and no interceptions. I mean, what's the deal here?
Here's the thing. This argument is flawed because you're looking at basically $8 million difference between Keenum and Kirk Cousins.
That's
and
what left tackle.
What's that? Well, what
that's a left tackle.
No way. There's no left tackle that's on the market for $7 million a year that's going to fix the problems that you have on
it's
the
a
offensive
start.
line. I mean, I'm not going to argue with that, but if you're asking me to choose between a $7 million offensive lineman and Kirk Cousins or Keenum, I'm going Kirk Cousins all day.
Yeah, but Zimmer's trying to turn him into Kirk Cousins or into Case Keenum.
Okay, yeah. I see what you're saying. Okay. you're not wrong. And I think, see, here's the other thing with Zimmer. I think he nailed it. I think that's the offense that he wants, is one that is boring and runs the ball and has
Well,
a
it's the
game
one he's
manager.
always had. If you go back to Dallas,
Anything that he's been
Cincy,
successful with has
look,
been an offense like that.
yeah, that's how his
100%.
defense works. You
Yeah.
can't have. I mean, for some reason, I just don't get it. He wants to chew the clock, boring.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't. I don't get it. It's stupid.
No, I mean, he definitely has. I think the most concerning part from the Mike Zimmer angle for this whole deal is that he's starting to kind of look old. He's starting to look like he doesn't want to evolve. Like he's more interested in running the old school. He wants black and blue football, and everybody else
Long
is
gone.
flying jets. Yeah, and that part is very concerning. Please pardon the train going by here. But that part concerns me because the last thing you want in the NFL is to get left behind. Like McCarthy is a great example of it. Like that offense all of a sudden looked ancient. It wasn't that long ago that was like, I don't want to say cutting edge, but I mean they were what teams looked at to see how
2
to be
years ago.
successful.
Yep.
Yeah, on offense.
Or
And they're
Rodgers
not like
got
that.
hurt.
So that part is concerning from the Mike Zimmer angle, where I do think he might be getting a little bit like there's a youth movement happening in the NFL from a coaching and play calling perspective, and Mike Zimmer ain't part of it, you know?
You bring in Filippo, you sign Cousins, you re-up Diggs, and then you want to run the ball 50 times a game. Something doesn't jive there.
That's a good point. I mean, you
Yep.
can't argue with that. I mean, because you're right, and you do have Dalvin Cook, but in the NFL today and with these rule changes, I mean, yeah, you want to run the ball, but what you're talking about, Mike Zimmer, is you want to control the ball. You don't have to run the ball to control it anymore. You just need to control the ball, you know? And those are different. And I feel like that is maybe part of it too, is that I don't know if Mike Zimmer was able to explain to DiFilippo what he needed in a way that DiFilippo was able to, take and then use. I mean, maybe DiFilippo was like a turd and was just like, I'm not doing that because that's not how I roll. Maybe that's the case. But for Zimmer to be like, run the ball more, that seems so dumb to me, Like,
we had a winning record.
Yeah.
We're 6-4-1. Don't mess with it.
Yeah. Man. I mean, from that angle, I can't really argue with if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if you're looking at that offense, the production that we were seeing in those games, what were the 2 games before Mike Zimmer said something? I mean, those were not impressive performances. There's a lot of hollow stat happening in some of those games. But, I mean, how many touchdowns have they scored this season where it's like, okay, we just need to get one in the end zone here, and then
we lost 25-20 to the Bears, the same Bears defense that held the Rams to 6.
Mm-hmm.
And we won 24-9 versus the Lions. So it's a complete drop. Yeah, it's a complete drop-off once you brought that up.
Oh, man. And now it's Dunzo, and now he's gone. And now Stefanski's in. And how many times do you expect them to run the ball next week, Mike?
50. That's why Stefanski's got the job. Because he's gonna sit there and bow to Zimmer.
Yeah, do whatever Zimmer says.
Yep.
Do you see? I'm wondering now, because Mike Zimmer doesn't seem like the kind of guy. It's like you said with the brain surgery. Like Zimmer seems like his ideal Sunday is coaching defense, and the offense puts up enough points for him to not have to coach as hard on defense. But I don't think Zimmer wants anything to do with offensive playing calling.
Should have listened to his interview today. Should have listened to the interview. He said he's going to start delegating more defensive duties to pay more attention to the offense,
so he can meddle more.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. We got freaking Jerry Jones for a head coach.
See, you're just donezo on Mike Zimmer. You're over it.
I'm done.
You're out.
I'm done.
He's won a lot of games, had a lot of playoff appearances.
Yep.
Dunzo. Just over it. Would you, let's, realistic, like, I'm not asking you to, like, predict, but predict, Mike. How much longer does Mike Zimmer have this job?
Well, if we go, 1 more year.
Really? Well, here, if they don't do anything in the playoffs this season and they start out bad next year, I could definitely see him getting fired.
And then they bring back DeFilippo as the head coach.
Oh God. Part of me wonders if DeFilippo is going to get hired someplace and just invent the most incredible new offense, and we're going to think to ourselves, "My God, what could have been?"
You know where it's going to be, don't you? Green Bay.
Oh God. I can't even fathom that. I don't know who Green Bay is going to get, but it's obvious that Aaron Rodgers is going to be, the guy over there.
Yep.
Do you expect them to make a return to the top of the division, I guess? Because they are still flirting with the playoffs here. New coach, new system. I mean, do you think that they could be – are they any kind of a factor going for the rest of the season? Probably not.
No.
But do you think –
next – do they have Aaron Rodgers next year? A healthy Aaron Rodgers?
A healthy, motivated, angry, chip on his shoulder Aaron Rodgers. It's
10 wins. 10 wins minimum. 10 wins.
Yeah, it's absolutely terrifying. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Mike, here's what we're going to do. We're going to split the show into 2 halves. We're going to take a short break here, and we're going to come back in 2 minutes.
Okay.
And I'll see you then.
All right, cool.
Okay, peace.